I spent about 20 minutes trying to do, not that's a lie. I spent about 4 minutes trying to do a proper YouTube intro, like with the voice of credibility, where I make you like a promise in the first 6 seconds it's worth watching, and I talk like this, and I go, guys, my name is, you can call me I'm doing an intro. I'm doing an intro. Everybody's gonna know who I am. I made the mistake of watching one of those videos where it tells me how to start every video, and I couldn't do it. I might learn at some point. I will tell you who I am. I guess in theory, I can't assume people have watched these videos in order. I can't assume they're going to watch them at all. I should probably put this away. So, I mean, you can call me Brendan. This is day 6. Day 6. What is it? What are you watching? Well, in theory, this is just a sort of diary record of someone losing 80 pounds, right? But I think that's sort of a trick that I'm trying to play. It's more so just about me. I really get into minutia, I guess, of the psychology. I don't want to use any grandiose terms. There are better channels for this type of thing. But I will present to you as best I can the mind and the mindset and my daily variances as I put in the effort to sort of do this difficult task, and I guess more nebulous than losing 80 pounds and like the effort of doing a difficult thing. This is also sort of I guess a fun game to play would be, can he actually do it, not lose 80 pounds. I think that's, I don't know if that's as up for debate in my head, but can he actually make a video every day? I mean, it's absurd. Even considering how under-edited these videos are, you'd really have to be kind of nuts to presume I can actually make a video every day until I lose 80 pounds. What is it going to take? What is it going to take? On the low end, 10 months. And that's losing very quickly. I don't think that's really going to happen. So realistically, you're talking about almost 300 videos, right? That's nuts. I do have to work full time. I do have at least a handful of responsibilities. I need money, so all of these things are factoring into the amount of time I have. But I guess I'm losing myself in this description of my channel. It's as it stands right now, it's just a daily record, and you're just gonna see what I do and say and what I feel every moment. I happen to just kind of go with what I want, as I try not to be. I didn't want to begin any video with me just like haranguing an imaginary audience about the things I dislike, but I just cannot get myself to make a hyper materialized approach to these videos where that inevitably, every YouTube account I've ever followed, inevitably I look 5 videos in and I realize, oh, this is a YouTube account teaching people how to make something themselves and then like sell it. That's what everything ends up being. If you're trying to do something difficult and you want to hear a sort of unfiltered voice, unfiltered to an extent, you're in the right place. I do get into minutia of things. I do, as a writer, which is something I'm going to say enough just to make myself sick, have a tendency to get into the nitty-gritty of why things happen and what characteristics are at play that lead to certain ends. For credibility, I've lost hundreds of pounds. You may say that discredits me, considering I'm still clearly obese. But then I think you'd have to... We could dive into this. Let's just skip. We'll jump around. Why would you lose weight and then gain it back? Is this to say that I don't know how to lose weight? Clearly, it's something I know how to do very well, or at the very least, I know how to do it repeatedly. But I gain it back, right? And where does that come in? Obviously, it probably comes from something outside of the process of weight loss. It is a Herculean effort to lose weight and gain weight as often as I have. It's it happens in a very passive way, but it takes a lot. And I think it has more to do with how I handle my life and how I or my lack of ability to really plan things out and adjust to my own behavioral traits. You know, I can get really, really just silent. I can become a real ghost version of myself. I I have years of my life I don't really remember. It's not that I actively refuse to remember them, but clearly some part of my brain goes off when I need it to. Resist the urge to therapize and be like, you're hiding something, or you're rejecting an emotion, or I take most things bluntly, and I allow them to apply that blunt force trauma directly to my dome. I'm sure to some extent that's an aspect of it, but there's a lot more going on. And I think that my overall approach to existence is in some part to blame. But back to the original point, credibility. Look, I can tell you how to lose weight. I think you could tell yourself too. I think if you're sitting around and you're looking up top 10 tips for weight loss, I think you already know what to do. I think you know what to do. I think that the various obstacles and the rut that make up the groundwork of your life are probably the issue. And a top 10 list isn't really going to help that much with that. There are little aphorisms and little tricks that you could always know and play, and it's helpful to have those tools. But the mechanism by which you are interfacing with life is the ultimate leverage, and that's your mind and how you handle things and why you do things and why you don't, and how willing you are to be aware of those things, and how consistently you just turn that part of you off and just let whatever happens happens. Which isn't to say you're ignoring it. You may wake up in an intense amount of pain about who you are or what you've become, but that doesn't mean that you're kind of awake and you're active and you're fighting against it. Because if there's anything I'm sure of, it's that the desire to fight and live and be victorious in your endeavors, personal or otherwise, that is the absolute best thing you can do. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. You should never think it's normal to permit a decade of failure. You should never subject yourself to your own brutality if your intention isn't to grow from it, if your intention isn't to find the reins and get things back on track. I don't believe life is bad and dark. I'm not, in the modern interpretation, a nihilist in any way. I'm not a hedonist either. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a stoic, although I clearly follow some stoic principles. I think that every individual with a grain of soul probably represents a very wide and complex net of thought processes and philosophical bases that they passively or otherwise live their life by. And I think life is incredibly worth living. And I mean, I love it. I love every second of it. Despite everything, despite anything I could be upset about. And I forget that sometimes, and sometimes I get washed away in it. Sometimes my passivity leads to months of inaction, where I'll juice just a thimble of contentedness out of my surroundings, and I can run on that for a long time. I can use it for a long time and remain positive. I refuse not to be joyous, but I lose that all the time, so don't get me wrong. What does that have to do with weight loss? What am I saying? I'm getting lost. This is what you can expect if you listen. I'm also not going to cut out these pauses where I get lost in thought. I'm just not going to do it. At some point, I'll make videos that I think are going to be written. I'll write scripts and I'll have more focus. But this is what it looks like when a person talks. This is what it is. This is what it's like. You should familiarize yourself with it. You know, I'm sick of information that's so goddamn condensed. I'm sick of conversations that have just been broken down and segmented, and I don't know. The commodification of human interaction and the way YouTubers and content creators, or everyone, has to sort of force, in order to succeed, you really need to force these things into condensed units of information and entertainment, and you need to layer them in an intelligent way in order to keep people's attention, and I think that's understandable. But I can't do it. At least right now I can't do it. And it does kind of sicken me. But what are we doing here, right? You know? At a certain point, I'll have to ask myself, how seriously do you want to take this thing? And if you do want to take it seriously, you have to play the game. You have to accept what the game is. Maybe you can break the rules and then change the game for yourself over time. Or you can amass an audience in a very, very, very specific, by-the-books way. And then after a certain scale, you could start to break the rules one by one, and kind of, because you know you'll keep them, you could kind of start to finally doing what you want. That's probably the best way to do it. But I'm losing myself in the ramble. I think I had to start doing this because I had grown so tired of thinking about doing it sometimes. And I used to be someone I thought that was a man of his word, and I did lose that in myself quite a bit. And I think it's easy to do, and I was thinking around the new year, I was thinking like, oh, last year was a fucking disaster, huh? And then I remembered the year before that, and I remember the new year came, and I had thought the same thing. So if last year, if around New Year's you were thinking, left, that finally 2024 is behind us, that was a doozy, and if you felt the same way about 2023 or about 2022, I think we're onto something, right? We're doing a little investigating. We're finding out that on a macro level, something is wrong. You're not supposed to feel that way, or at least you should resist it. I try to tell myself, like, don't meander, you know, have bullet points. But I don't know. This I like. I'm going to do this, at least for now. So, day 6. Everything's been fine. Woke up with a bit of a headache, don't know why. One time, when I was a kid, I woke up to a bee stinging me. That's the weirdest way I've ever been woken up. One of the weirder ways. I grew up so poor, in such a poor environment, that my window in my bedroom was like a hole. It's just a big hole with a garbage bag over it. It's a long story. And a bee came in, as they often did, and it just stung me while I was sleeping. So I woke up stung. I'll never forget it. It was jarring. And also, why did the bee came in my room and just killed itself? It just kamikazed me. I was fucking asleep. I know editing is also to keep people from the drab, you know, stream of consciousness that really is kind of a heavy weight. I get it. One time I was texting a buddy, and it was a long, text him all these different things, all the things on my mind, and my friend Chris, and he just texted me back, "You have an infuriating stream of consciousness," and it cracked me up. I'll never forget it. And I guess sometimes, I do. But I don't know. I feel good. I always want to feel good. I always kind of choose to feel good. This temperament is not something that I like. It's earned through the effort of my intentions. But also it is, you know, like a little ember, you know, flickering inside of me always, and sometimes snuffed out, sometimes engorged and just ablaze, and I can hardly contain myself. But I didn't feel like moving the camera around today. I didn't feel like doing any of that. Tomorrow we'll do like a week in review. But today, this is it. This is going to be the video. One shot. Maybe I'll clean up the beginning a little bit. How long did we do? Let's check together. Dude. 17 minutes. What did I do? All right, well, I thought it was like 5 minutes. All right. I'll see you tomorrow then. Good luck.